Hi everyone, Melissa here from Beein Cozy Stitching, and today I want to talk to you about managing your leftovers or scraps or pieces that would normally get thrown away that really truly you can make beautiful, wonderful, useful items out of these leftover projects for very little money. That way it makes them so easy to give away. But let's talk about how to manage those scraps, and then we'll go through and show you what to do with some of those scraps. So stay tuned. Remember, hit the like button if you like this video, and please subscribe to our channel. That way we can keep going and keep bringing you these quick, simple, wonderful tips on how to manage the mess. Now, whenever you're quilting your quilt, you're bound to have leftover pieces and parts, because you always want to make sure that you have enough batting to go past the whole piece, the whole top, so that you have some going all the way around the edge, and that way if it shifts or moves, you're covered. But what do you do with those leftover pieces? So instead of throwing them away, because I'm talking about the little pieces, I'm not talking about the bigger pieces that you can trim and sew together and use as a viable batting in your next project. I'm talking about the little pieces and parts that you would normally throw away because you just don't know what to do with those. So some of my little pieces and parts I'm going to show you. What I like to do with my little pieces and parts, I like to layer them up. Oh my goodness, this is a big one. Okay, so I like to get them all layered up and all cleaned up. Make sure that I've got one really nice edge, and I don't waste a lot of time, fussing about whether everything's just so. Basically what I do is I layer them up to where they look good, and I clean up one of the edges and throw it away. So see what I mean? They don't all match. They aren't all even. But anyway, that isn't necessary at all. We just want a nice clean edge to start with. And then I come back in and I cut these pieces at 2.5 inches. Now, if your pieces and parts left over from the sides of your quilts are smaller than 2.5 inches, you just want to throw those away. You don't need them. I haven't found a use for them yet, unless you chop them up into little bitty pieces and make pillow stuffing out of them. So at that point, that's my cutoff. If my batting pieces are smaller than 2.5 inches, I throw them away. If not, I line them up, clean them up, and I chop them up to 2.5 inches. And you can see this one's got a mess over here. It's not really lining up well over here, but the parts that are 2.5 inches and do make the cut, those I'll keep. This I'll throw away. So then just go ahead and line up your strips nice and neat when you're all done, and place them in a basket, a bin, a box, whatever is useful for you that can hold a good number of these. I've tried several different things. A lot of them work pretty well. Usually I'll just take a leftover box that comes in the mail with something I've ordered from somewhere, and I'll line them all up in a nice neat row. And I'll put them under the quilt frame, and that way when I'm ready to make a project, they're ready to go too. Okay, so as you can see, I have my nice little box. I have all my strips cut. They're all packed in here nice and neat. I love shoe boxes, by the way. You can close it up. It's all set, ready to go. It's all ready for whenever I'm ready for the next project. Now that we have all of the batting strips cut, organized, and ready for use, we need to tackle the fabric strips. So what I like to do is find the pieces that are relatively big enough, and I think this one's perfect. And what we're going to do now is we're going to cut these strips into 2.5 inch strips. Ooh, look it. See, I have a whole bevy of them. I must have started and then thrown them in the bag because I wanted to be done at some point. Don't be afraid to use these that have connections. Doesn't matter. Cut them 2.5 inch strips. They add so much interest into your project when you finally put your roping strips together. And that's essentially what we're going to be making next, our roping strips. And roping strips are all of those lovely, lovely fabric covered batting pieces that you've seen used in jelly roll rugs and bags and purses and bowls. We're going to prepare a whole bunch of that stuff, so when we get ready and we need a quick project or something simple or different to do, that we're all ready and all we have to do is put it together from there. So from this point, you're going to try and clean an area that you can work into and line up your strips just like you normally do. We'll take this one. It'll be a little easier to work with, a little better to see, and besides, it matches me. Okay, so I'm sure by now everybody knows how to do this, but you will press and make these all nice and neat and sweet, and then you're going to go ahead, come through, you're going to cut them every 2.5 inches. If you don't have 2 inches at this point, because you're trying to manage the scraps, cut them down to whatever workable size piece you can get out of there. From 2.5 inches, I will go 2. From 2, I will go 1.5. And then I will go to 1, and then I'm done. Anything smaller than 1 inch goes into a plastic bag for when I make fabric out of fabric. Once you have gone from this to having all of your fabric strips cut, it's up to you how you want to store them and use them. I use a plastic bin. I stack them all up. I don't separate them by color. I don't separate them by anything because I never know what's going to excite me and what I actually want to put together when the time comes. So I just kind of leave them all together for inspiration, but I will separate them out according to size so that whatever project I need, I grab by the size. Okay, so once you have all your strips cut and you've got your battings cut, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and layer one on top of the other. And then the process for making the roping is very simple. You're going to bring one side in, fold it in half, and you're going to press. Then you're going to fold up the other side to the center so that they meet, and then we're going to go ahead and press that. Then we're going to take these and we're going to fold it in half one more time. Make sure everybody's in the pool. Fold it in one more time in half. We're going to press the heck out of it. Don't be afraid to use breast press or spray starch or whatever you've got on hand because it likes to fly open. But we basically want it to be folded in half down the length of the entire strip. Now, when I don't know what project I'm going to make, I only sew these a strip at a time and I throw them in a basket, or I roll them into a ball if I've got a lot of them going on prior to making a rug. And I apologize, I don't have a sample of that because I just finished the last rug that I had put together. So, like I said, when I don't know what I want to make, I just go ahead and I make it into a strip. Now with a strip, I can make rugs to go in front of the sink. I can make bowls. I can make bags, purses, you name it. You pretty much can make it into whatever you want to, but you only need the length of the strip. So I don't go to the process of putting strip after strip after strip after strip joined together. If I'm making a rug and I know I'm making a rug from the get-go, I will go ahead and I will connect all my strips together so that it's one long continuous piece, and I do it the same way that you would join a binding or sashing strips or borders. Same process. You're going to do this kind of crossed over thing, and you're going to stitch from corner to corner to connect them. But since I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just doing it in one strip. Now, once you have your strip folded in half and it's all pressed and ready to go, if you want to, feel free to go ahead and use binding clips to hold it into place. I don't really think that's necessary. it works just as well for me without them. But if you need some extra help keeping your layers together, by all means go ahead and use them. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to sew about 1/4 of an inch down the length of our strip. So from one end to the other end, we're going to sew it a 1/4 of an inch. It is a little bulky when you first get started with all of that stuff on the end. Do use your threads and what have you to help you feed it through, or if you prefer, by all means use a walking foot. That will help you, or your even feed on some of the new machines. That will help you. You do want to try and stay 1/4 of an inch from the edge, because it makes a better connection when you go to join your strips together. But basically, like I said, all you're doing is sewing down 1/4 of an inch down the whole strip. Now this is kind of putsy and it is kind of boring, so make sure you put on your favorite video to help you get through. But when you're done, you end up with something that looks like this. And then you're all set and ready to go for your rug construction, bowl construction, bag construction, whatever that you would like. When all the roping strips are put together and placed in the bowl, when the mood strikes, you can take them out and create the most lovely projects ever, according to whatever style, color, type, or mood you're in. Now, I told you I put the other strips that don't make the 2.5 inch cut into other bins, and this is an example of what I do with them. I throw them in a bag, and then I pull them out and I weave them into various rugs, table mats, cat mats. They're perfect. That way, I'm reducing from the landfill, I'm using up my scraps, I'm getting beautiful finished projects from them. Remember, it's all about managing the mess. Once you have it under control, then you have the opportunity to be creative and come up with all the projects that you would like. I hope today has inspired you to manage your mess and create some amazing projects. Thanks for joining me today. We hope to see you next week.